Hey guys, I'm Nate. Welcome back to the workshop. In our previous video, we showed you the beginning steps of building a tabletop fire pit. Now we're going to take all of the pieces that we've prepped before and permanently assemble them into a fire pit. Let's start by soldering the long coil with the 2 elbows and the small straight piece in between. Soldering copper pipe properly does take a little bit of prep work. So let's clean up all of the joints so that the bond will be strong. There's a tool that's made for cleaning out the inside of copper joints that looks kind of like a cone-shaped wire brush. But unfortunately, I also don't have one of those, so I am using some very fine grit sandpaper wrapped around the end of a pen. It's actually working pretty well. There we have it. We've prepped and cleaned all of the copper pieces that will make connections. Before we can solder our copper pipes together, we do have to add a little bit of flux. This helps the solder flow evenly and not oxidize. We also need to apply a little bit to the inside joint. This is, of course, a much larger brush than is necessary. To get this solder to take and really seal well on this copper pipe, what I need to do is heat up the joint a lot and then tap the solder onto it. If it's properly heated with the flux added correctly, it should pull the liquid solder into the gap and seal it up. Everyone out there who's way better at soldering copper pipe than I am, please don't make fun of me too much. I haven't done this much before at all. Too hot maybe. Well, it's ugly, but I think it's soldered. Yeah. Hey, that one actually turned out pretty good. There's probably some very specific way to know when you're at the perfect temperature so that the solder will melt and flow nicely, but it's not just going to burn and fall off. I don't know what that method is. Now we've got the top coil of our fire pit all assembled, it's soldered together, and I'm pretty sure it's even airtight, which is just what we want. Not bad for my second time ever soldering copper pipe. Learning new skills today, it's good. Let's solder a straight piece on, then pass it through the pan, and then we'll attach the second piece on the outside. If we attach all of these right here, we won't be able to fit it through our pan anymore because this hole is only large enough for this smaller fitting, not for this larger one. That looks pretty good. Now let's pop that down through the pan. Careful because it is quite hot. Seems pretty well attached everywhere. Got some good solder on there. I think that's good to go. You just want to let it cool down a little bit. Our piping's all soldered together. We've let it cool down to the point where it's no longer difficult to touch. Let's attach this to our fuel line and then fit it inside our plastic container. Beautiful. All right, that's looking good. But at this point, if we were to turn on the gas, it would have nowhere to go. What we need to do is drill some holes into our copper pipe up on top so that the fuel has somewhere to escape to. I have here about the smallest drill bit that will fit into this chuck and still actually grip on. If I go too small, there's a little bit of a hole down the center of the different teeth, and so it'll just slide in and out. But I think this size should be good. So I'm just going to put several holes going around this copper tube, and that's where the propane butane fuel mixture will come out. The copper tube in the top now has holes drilled in it, so it should be ready to test lighting on fire. But some of you may have caught on to the fact that so far, it's pretty difficult to turn on the gas inside this container. If I just tried to twist the handle as it is, I'd have to open it and then attach the lid, and the whole time propane and butane would be spewing into the air. That's no good. So what we want to do is give ourselves a way to turn the gas on and off while the lid is attached. So first, let's take off this small wire handle. The plan is that we'll drill a small hole into the side of the plastic. Through that, we'll have a length of straightened copper tube which can reach in and turn the little key that lets the gas come out. At the moment, if you put it on, it just swivels and doesn't turn it at all. We'll flatten the tube so that it fits nicely onto our key. That looks like just the right height. Now we want to use a bit that's just larger than our copper pipe so that it will easily fit in, including the flattened end designed to fit over the key. Let's just take some sandpaper and our pen and clean up that edge a little bit. In the end, it probably won't even be very visible, but it's just nicer if it's clean. There we go. We can now fit the copper pipe through the side of the container, and it fits perfectly over the key. Let's flatten the end of our tube so that it can actually get some grip on our gas key. The fuel can is inside the plastic container. We can now reach through with our piece of copper pipe, fit it over the key, and open the gas. Since we don't want to have an extra foot of copper pipe sticking out at all times, let's just mark off where we want to cut this. Our piece is cut down, we've cleaned up the edge, and at this point a copper cap fits nicely over it. So this will work as our key to turn our gas on and off. Our copper pipe fits nicely over the fuel key, but I am going to try and crimp it down a little more so it's a little bit more of a snug fit and won't bend or warp the copper when we try and turn it on and off. That works great, so to finish up this piece, let's clean up the edges and solder the cap on. Our copper pipe key is now finished, so let's try putting everything together and do a rough test to see if this is working. It's looking pretty good. Let's see what happens if we turn this key. Look at that! How big can it go? Really big, too big. Turn that down a bit again. That is beautiful. It's coming out perfectly. Nice even flames all the way around our circle. Excellent, 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 excellent. Whew! Yes, all right, I'm gonna turn it off by twisting the key. Perfect, that worked great. Oh, I'm excited. I love when things work well. Well, at this point, what we need to do is make it look a little bit nicer. It's working great, but it looks kind of boring. So let's take some decorative elements, add those on, and really make this thing look nice. Our base being made of clear plastic is really nice while we're building it because we can see everything that's going on inside, but it doesn't really look very professional when you can just look at your fuel tank. I want to decorate the outside of the plastic container, and then I also have these blue pieces of glass that I want to put in the bed above the fire coil. What we're going to do is take these paint sticks, cut them down to the height of our plastic container, and then use some hot glue to glue them on going all the way around. Of course, we'll have to drill a hole in one of the sticks so that our key can still fit in and out. I'm actually going to just measure up to the brackets because our pan will be on top and we'll never really be able to see this piece of the clear plastic. This way I don't have to fit them around each single bracket. Let's start with the slat that we need to drill a hole into to fit over our key. Let's put a little mark right where we want the center of the hole to be. That looks nice. Perfect. Key slides in and out. Beautiful. Let's take some hot glue, apply it to the inside of our cut paint stick, and then glue it in place on the container. Our first one's in place, now let's just go around the rest of the container, adding paint sticks all the way. All right, we've got one spot left that's just slightly wider than our last paint stick, so we are gonna have to trim this down to make it fit. Beautiful. There we go, that looks pretty nice. Now let's just take these glass beads and add them all around on the inside of our pan. I got these beads at Hobby Lobby. They come in these little net bags. I bought 2 of the bags and each bag was only like $3, so it's pretty cheap. I think it would be fine if the glass were right on top of the pipe, but I am trying to clear a path just a little bit so that the gas has somewhere to go. That's looking pretty good. I think at this point what we have to do is turn it on and see how it looks. Oh, that's fantastic. Look at that, a little tabletop fire pit. A lot of good heat coming off of that too. That looks so cool. I love the contrast, the orange fire with the blue glass. That's why I chose the blue glass. It's just, they look really good together. Oh, that looks so cool. I'm just gonna turn it up. Bigger fire, always more fun. Oh, that is a hoot. That's the dumbest expression I've ever used. A hoot, you hear? I do want to point out that while this is small enough to fit on a tabletop, it's really not something that you want to use indoors for any extended period of time. Propane and butane, unless they're burned 100%, can let off carbon monoxide gases, and you can see that there's smoke coming off of here. Both of those are stuff you don't want inside your house for any long period of time. There you have it. A fire pit is a super fun thing to gather around. If you don't have one, this is easier to build than it is to install one in your yard. It's not gonna put out the same amount of heat, of course, but it does work pretty well. There's a good amount of heat coming off of this, and of course I can turn it up even more if I want. Oh, wow, that's toasty. Very toasty, very quickly. This whole build only takes a few hours and it's pretty fun to do. I especially enjoyed learning the new skill of soldering the copper together. Although some people out there probably think what I did looked pretty sloppy, it worked well, it's airtight, and for a first time, it's not bad. Thanks for joining us for this project today, and we look forward to the next one. Talk to you then. This would be better at night.
I got a fire pit that sits on your table now. What will they think of next? Hey guys, Grant here. Just want to pop in with a quick update that the King of Random brand is expanding. Nate's here because you wanted more DIY, more variety, more frequent videos, and together, we're all making that happen. Thanks for your support.